In this session I'm going to look at how we do a virtual sound check. So that's something that we can do using a multi-track recording that I've made previously, which is something I covered in the previous session. So what that allows us to do is to play back a recording that's been made from the desk back through the desk. So it will be as if I have a band in the room and I can do all the normal things like do the EQ, I can do a different mix, can try out things with FX and compression and so on without having to have a band present. So to do that, I'm going to start off from the laptop and talk you through the setup on there and then move across to the desk. So we use Tracks Live on the laptop, same as we did for recording. So I'm going to start that up, and I need to have a multi-track recording session that I've made previously. So you'll get the little dialog pop up, and if there's one that's been done recently, then that will appear in the recent sessions list. Otherwise you can open a saved one. So first off, I'm going to load the session that I've saved, and the reason for doing that is because I need to know how many tracks I've recorded, so I then need to know how many tracks to send to the desk. So on this particular one, I've got main, left and right, 4 vocals, a spare one that wasn't used, guitar and a keyboard channel. So that means I've got 9 tracks, so that means I need to send 9 things to the desk. So what I do is then I go to Preferences. So as for the multi-track recording, I need to look at the audio system settings. It needs to be the ASIO interface again. The sample rate is set by the recording, so I leave that. But what I do need to do is make sure that I've got the multi-out mode, which means that it will send each track individually to a separate channel through the USB to the desk. Otherwise it would just try and do a stereo mix. So on the outputs section here, then all I need to do is make sure that all my channels 1 to 9, which I've currently got in this session, are turned on and being sent to the desk. They are. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9 there. So tracks 1 to 9 are being sent through to SQ channels 1 to 9 on the desk, so that's great. If they weren't, I can just turn them on and off as needed. I then come back to the main Tracks Live interface, and I've got the recording that I previously made, so I can look at that and I can set a point to do a playback for that, but I'll take you on next and show you how to set the desk up. So I've already got a scene loaded and I'm ready as if I was going to use the band. So what I need to do is set the desk so that instead of receiving signal from the real microphones and keyboard, that I'll actually pick it up from my laptop instead. So similarly, when we did the multi-track recording, we go to the I/O section. So this is first showing how the input channels are mapped to local, which is how I have it set up at the moment. So I've got my mics and guitar and keyboard all coming in from local inputs. So instead of local inputs, what I want to do is route them from the USB. So I'll go to USB on the top here, and what I'm going to do is pick my channels based on my tracks that I had in Tracks Live. So on Tracks Live, I've got main, left and right as the first 2. I'm not going to worry about bringing those across. I then got 4 vocal channels, a spare one, and guitar and keyboard. So my vocal channels then start at 3 after main, left and right. So I start to patch those, get the usual message, say yep. So I'm going to map my 4 vocal channels across. I've then got the spare one, which is number 7, ignore that, and map the guitar to number 8 and the keyboard to number 9 and 10. So now what I've actually done is already started Tracks Live, so I've got it playing the track, and what you can do with Tracks Live is you can actually select a section or get it to repeat the whole tracks, so that's quite a useful little trick. So you can highlight a section and then play that back and get it to repeat in a loop so that you can listen to it over and over. It's quite useful when you're wanting to try things out. So if I now go to processing and look at my channels, if I go to my summary, you should actually see on there the meters for all the channels, and now I've got something coming through. They're coming through from the laptop. So if I pause my laptop, the signal goes. If I start it up again, you get the signal back. If I unmute those channels, then you should be able to hear that coming through. So the nice thing with this is, over just a straight stereo recording, is that I can choose which channels I listen to. Got the guitar there. I can go into the settings on the guitar. If it's not quite loud enough, then if there's not enough level coming through, I think there is probably on guitar. If there wasn't, I could adjust the preamp gain, and because it's a digital input rather than from an actual real mic or DI box, this is just the trim. So now if I need to adjust the level that's coming in from my laptop, I can just use the same preamp, but it's now adjusting the trim. So you'll see the trim there is changing on that. So similarly, go to keyboard, do the same, or any of the vocal mics. Make adjustments to those. So that means I've got all those coming in separately. I can choose a different selection of them to mix. I can then choose to adjust things on them as well, because it's as if it was coming in from the actual real source. So there's no EQ applied to it, so I can go in and adjust the EQ, or I can turn it off. I can listen to that, make changes to it very easily, and I don't need to have somebody there actually performing and standing there and being standing and waiting for me. But I can basically play the same section over and over if I want to, listen to it, make adjustments to it, and try things out that way. It's quite a useful way to be able to do that. And turn them off again. So there we go, that gives you an idea how you can do a virtual sound check. So a great little technique for trying stuff out, and a good way to be able to try things with the desk and experiment a little bit and fine tune your scenes and your settings.